Did she say who did it, Peeves?
Oh yes, Professor Head. He got very angry, you see, when she wouldn't let him in. Nasty temper he's got. That serious black.
Hi! Welcome back to Quafflecast.
So, as everybody knows, there were lots of things from the books that didn't make it into the films. For example, Winky,
Ludo Bagman.
Gryffindor winning the Quidditch Cup.
Dobby being missing from 2 films.
But most of all, there's one character that is in every single book and not one film. We are of course talking about Peeves the Poltergeist. So today we're going to talk about him. This is my favourite bit of Peeves. But not even the users of the snack boxes could compete with the master of chaos, Peeves, who seemed to have taken Fred's parting words deeply to heart. Cackling madly, he soared through the school, upending tables, bursting out of blackboards, toppling statues and vases. Twice he shut Mrs. Norris inside a suit of armour, from which she was rescued, yowling loudly, by the furious caretaker. Peeves smashed lanterns and snuffed out candles, juggled burning torches over his heads of screaming students, caused neatly stacked piles of parchment to topple into fires or out of windows, flooded the second floor when he pulled off all the taps in the bathrooms, dropped a bag of tarantulas in the middle of the Great Hall during breakfast, and, whenever he fancied a break, spent hours at a time floating along after Umbridge and blowing loud raspberries every time she spoke. None of the staff but Filch seemed to be stirring themselves to help her. Indeed, a week after Fred and George's departure, Harry witnessed Professor McGonagall walking right past Peeves, who was determinedly loosening a crystal chandelier, and could have sworn he'd heard her tell the poltergeist out of the corner of her mouth, "It unscrews the other way."
Now, interesting factoid. Peeves the Poltergeist was in the plan for the first film.
They did have him. He was going to be played by Rick Mile. Insert picture here. So he went in, did his scenes, and then this was the first film, obviously. And then they cut them all. So he got paid, but then he got told none of your scenes are going to be in it. And then Peeves was no more.
What tragedy.
It was a great tragedy.
I think they should have had some sort of extended edition where they had Peeves in, and we all got to enjoy the Peeves.
Just 10 seconds of film of Peeves. He's in also if you were really old school and you had the computer game of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He's in that and he's like all purpley and he like floats around.
Cross-legged and things.
I'd have loved to have him in it. Because he's a huge part of Hogwarts.
I think, though, missing out things in the films just kind of also makes the books a bit more special, because it means that you can go back and read those stories and there's just a little bit extra for you, and you can go back into Hogwarts and spend more time there.
Talking about books that have been turned into films, I watched a video the other day and it said which way is the better way to do it. So whether you read a book and then go and see the film version, or watch the film and then read the book version. Now obviously, in our life, everybody read the books and then went and watched the film, and that was a great way of doing it. But, however, I started thinking, you always go disappointed. You always watch the films and you're like, oh, they missed out that bit, and they missed out that bit. Whereas, if other people that I know have only ever watched the films, and I'm now like, read the books, if you get then to experience all the extra details,
so good.
That would be amazing, because it's like getting a load of DVD extras. So if you watch the films and then you're like, oh my gosh, this happens, and this whole new character that I just get, and oh my gosh, all this stuff, and you're like, I never even knew this happened. That must be amazing. Rather than reading the books and then going, let's see how they've done with this, and then sitting there and going, oh, I wish they'd missed that.
But then obviously the only things that you miss is that you don't get to see these places in your own imagination.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it swings
still.
and roundabouts, because you're sort of like, that person is that person in my head now, rather than the lovely thing about reading books is you get to all create in your head. So it sort of swings and roundabouts, but I just think that'd be so great if you watched the Harry Potter films and then you went back and you were like, look at all this world that I get.
Was there anyone else in your head when you were reading the books that looked different to how they did in the
Hermione looks different.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I listen to the audiobooks a lot, and the way that Stephen Fry does different characters sometimes completely changes how I see them. I mean, I love it. Like, Tonks is a big one because she has a bit of a different accent.
Yeah.
So she looks completely different in my head.
Yeah, I imagine Tonks quite different, actually.
But I still see that Tonks in my head when I read the books and when I listen to the audiobooks. Again, Hermione does look a bit different, just because of the descriptions of her. I mean, Emma Watson is beautiful.
Yeah.
But her teeth are meant to be a bit bigger and her hair's meant to be a bit bigger. Which I quite like seeing that, because it gives those girls hope.
I've been finding out recently there are some great artists online who do drawings of different characters.
Yeah.
And I think they always do Hermione very well, because, like we say, Emma Watson did a great job, but it's nice to kind of see that kind of more bookish character that you see in your head. First film though, she seemed quite mousy and all over the place.
Yeah, that was good. The first film has good. Yeah. And when you go back and listen to them or go back and read the books again, you're sort of like, oh, I forgot about that, and oh yeah, that little detail, and it's lovely, and that is really great. So it is nice that there isn't every detail, because you can't have every detail, and I understand that. But although I do think there's a market for a 9-hour Harry Potter film, I think people would watch it.
Another one, maybe we'll talk about another time. Death Day Party is something that I love reading about.
Oh yeah,
we really want that.
They cut a load of ghost stuff out as well.
Yeah, lots of missing ghost stuff. See, that's another thing.
A lot of stuff missing from Hogwarts. It was more just about Harry's sort of life, which had to be.
Oh, John Cleese played Nearly Headless Nick, didn't he? Good casting. I love that. I do think if it wasn't Rick Mayall cast as Peeves, who would be a good Peeves? That's a good question.
Someone really cheeky. He's always little in my head.
Yeah, well, he's also young in my head. I see him as a kind of like the same age as students, because they say that Poltergeist comes out when there's lots of young excitement. Something like that. I read this on Pottermore.
Yeah, I think he must be young. Also, in cutting out all of Peeves stuff, it affected Filch's story a lot, because him and Filch obviously have a battle all the way through, and I think he lost a lot of his story from that. But again, that's just stuff that had to be sacrificed. But that it would have been nice to see. Because you see Filch a bit, you sort of see him less as the film goes on, but it would have been nice to see the different things that happen with him.
Interesting little story. I found out one time, I was living in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is where Shakespeare was born and grew up, and I got my hair cut while I was there, obviously as you would, and turned out, I was chatting to my hairdresser, and I said, I was talking about the fact that I'm an actor, and I said, does anyone ever come in here from the Shakespeare Company? And the hairdresser said no, but every now and again, the guy who plays Argus Filch comes in here and I cut his hair. So I have my hair cut by the same scissors that cut Argus Filch's greasy old stinky hair.
Argus Filch is great.
We love him. There's a little snippet from Prisoner of Azkaban. Puzzled but interested, the class got to its feet and followed Professor Lupin out of the classroom. He led them along the deserted corridor and around a corner, where the first thing they saw was Peeves the Poltergeist, who was floating upside down in midair and stuffing the nearest keyhole with chewing gum. Peeves didn't look up until Professor Lupin was 2 feet away. Then he wiggled his curly-toed feet and broke into song. Loony loony Lupin, Peeves sang. Loony loony Lupin, loony loony Lupin. Rude and unmanageable as he almost always was, Peeves usually showed some respect towards the teachers. Everyone looked quickly at Professor Lupin to see how he would take this. To their surprise, he was still smiling. I'd take that gum out of the keyhole if I were you, Peeves, he said, pleasantly. Mr. Filch won't be able to get into his brooms. Filch was the Hogwarts caretaker, a bad-tempered, failed wizard who waged a constant war against the students and, indeed, Peeves. However, Peeves paid no attention to Professor Lupin's words, except to blow out a loud, wet raspberry. Professor Lupin gave a small sigh and took out his wand. This is a useful little spell, he told the class over his shoulder. Please watch closely. He raised the wand to shoulder height, said, "Waddy-waddy!" and pointed at Peeves. With the force of a bullet, the wad of chewing gum shot out of the keyhole and straight down Peeves' left nostril. He whirled right way up and zoomed away, cursing. "Cool, sir," said Dean Thomas in amazement.
See, he's so great.
We love Peeves.
We love Peeves. I think it was a great loss.
I saw a production of a play called Amadeus at the National Theatre in London a couple of days ago, and there's an actor called Adam Gillan playing Mozart.
Insert picture here.
And I thought he would make quite a good Peeves, because the character of Mozart in that is completely mischievous and loopy and loony as anything, and kind of lives just to create havoc, so I think he'd be quite good.
That sounds just like Peeves.
If you have any ideas or suggestions, please let us know, and we'll tweet some of the best ones.
We will be back with more videos about things they missed, because there are many.
One of them is the garden gnomes from the Burrow, and I did a little reading a couple of weeks ago about them from the Burrow section in the Chamber of Secrets. So check it out and get your fill. Until next time,
Bye!